It was a normal, sunny morning in the city. People were walking fast on the busy street. Cars were honking loudly. Shops were opening. Some people were eating snacks near small food stalls. Everything looked like an ordinary day. But no one knew that today something very strange and shocking was going to happen. On the corner of the street, an old lady stood alone. Her clothes were dirty and old. Her gray hair was messy. She held a small bag in her hand. She walked very slowly with small steps, like her legs were tired. Many people passed by, but no one noticed her. Some people even pushed her, but she said nothing. She just kept walking slowly. Suddenly, a police officer came running. He was young and strong. His name was Officer Dan. He had just started his job 1 month ago. He wanted to show everyone that he was a brave and strict cop. When he saw the old lady blocking the footpath, he became angry. "Hey, you old woman, move fast. You are stopping." "The people!" Officer Dan shouted loudly. The old lady stopped walking. She slowly turned her head and looked at the young cop, but she did not say a word. She gave a strange little smile. Her eyes looked calm and deep, like she knew something big. Officer Dan did not like her smile. He thought she was making fun of him. The crowd also stopped to watch. Some people took out their phones to record the scene. Everyone wanted to see what was going to happen. I said, "Move, old woman. Are you deaf?" Officer Dan shouted again, but the old lady still stood, quietly. Her smile grew bigger. She looked straight into the young cop's eyes. Her face was not scared. She did not care about his shouting. She seemed peaceful, as if she knew some secret. The crowd started whispering. "Who is this old woman? Why, is she smiling like that? Is she mad or crazy?" Officer Dan lost his patience. He grabbed her arm roughly and pulled her. The old lady fell hard on the ground. Her small bag dropped. A soft thud sound came as something heavy hit the footpath from the bag. Everyone gasped loudly. The crowd became quiet. Only one strange sound filled the air. It was a soft beep, beep, beep. The sound was coming from the old lady's bag. Officer Dan looked down, confused. The old lady slowly picked up the small black box from her bag. The strange box had a tiny red light blinking. It made the soft beeping sound. It did not look like a normal thing an old lady would carry. What is this?" Officer Dan asked, his voice shaking a little. The old lady smiled again, her eyes still calm. "This is something you don't understand, young man," she said softly. The crowd leaned closer. Everyone wanted to see the strange box. Someone whispered, "Is that a bomb?" Another said, "Maybe it's a spy machine." Fear started to grow in the air. A small child pointed at the old lady and said, "Grandma, why are you carrying that again?" But the old lady gently shook her head and said, "Not now, little one." Officer Dan was now confused and a little scared. He pulled his walkie-talkie and called for backup. "I need help at Market Street. Suspicious device found. Possible danger," he shouted. Within minutes, more police cars came. The police chief himself arrived. He was an older man, with gray hair and sharp eyes. When he saw the old lady, his face suddenly changed. He looked shocked. "It's you," the police chief said in a low voice. Officer Dan heard this and felt surprised. "Chief, do you know this old woman?" The chief did not answer. He looked at the old lady carefully and said, "What are you doing here, madam? After so many years? Why now?" The crowd gasped again. Whispers filled the street. "Who is she? Why is the chief talking like that? Is she someone important? Maybe she is rich or powerful." The old lady slowly stood up. She held the strange black box in her hand. She brushed the dirt off her clothes and looked at the chief with kind eyes. "I told you, John," she said softly, calling the police chief by his first name. "One day the truth would come out. Today is that day." The young cop, Officer Dan, was even more confused. "Chief, please tell me, who is she?" he asked. The chief sighed deeply. He looked at the young officer and said, "She was once the richest woman in this city. 20 years ago, she owned half the buildings. On this street, she gave money to charities, helped orphans, and built hospitals. Everyone loved her. The crowd gasped louder. A man shouted, "Yes, I remember her now. She disappeared many years ago." Another woman said, "I thought she died." The chief continued, "But then something terrible happened. Someone betrayed her. They stole her money, her company, everything. She lost everything in one night. After that, she vanished. No one saw her again until today." Officer Dan's mouth opened in shock. He looked at the old lady with wide eyes. "But why is she dressed like this? Like a poor beggar?" he asked. The old lady smiled gently. "Because I chose to live this way. I wanted to see the world as it truly is. When you are rich, people lie to you, but when you are poor, you see their real faces," she said. The strange black box in her hand kept beeping softly. The red light blinked again. The chief looked at the box. Is that the proof? The proof you promised me all those years ago?" he asked. The old lady nodded. "Yes, John. This little box holds the truth. The names of the people who betrayed me, the secret deals, the crimes they did. Today, the world will know," she said. Officer Dan felt cold. Who betrayed you?" he asked softly. The old lady turned and looked at him with sharp eyes. Her smile was gone. The crowd waited in silence. The beeping sound filled the air. "Your father," she said. A loud gasp spread through the crowd. Officer Dan stepped back, shocked. "No, that can't be. My father is a good man," he shouted, but the old lady nodded slowly. "Your father was the one who destroyed my life, and now you have hurt me too. Like father, like son," she said sadly. Tears filled Officer Dan's eyes. The crowd started talking loudly. Some people shouted, "Is this true?" Others whispered, "What will happen now?" The police chief raised his hand to calm everyone. "Let her speak," he said. The old lady raised the black box high in the air. The red light blinked faster. The beeping became louder. "Today, the truth will be revealed," she said in a strong voice. "The city will know what happened. No more lies, no more secrets." The crowd watched in silence. Their eyes were wide, their hearts beat fast. What was inside the box? What would happen next? Officer Dan stood frozen. His father's secret. His own mistake. Everything was breaking in front of him. And the old lady? She stood calm, strong, like she had waited 20 years for this moment. The air was full of fear, surprise, and questions. The crowd stood still on the busy street. No one moved. No one spoke. Everyone was looking at the old lady holding the small black box with the blinking red light. The sound of beep, beep, beep filled the air. Officer Dan felt his heart beating fast. His face turned pale. His hands shook a little. He could not believe what the old lady had just said. "My father? My father betrayed you?" he asked in a low, shaky voice. The old lady did not answer him. She only smiled again, her strange, soft smile. It was not angry. It was not sad. It was the smile of someone who knew everything but said nothing. Her eyes looked deep, as if they carried many secrets from long ago. The police chief walked slowly to the old lady. His face was serious and full of worry. He said in a low voice, "Why now? Why, after so many years, you return? Why today?" The old lady turned her eyes toward him. Her smile became wider. "Because today is the perfect day," she whispered. "Today, the past will meet the present. Today, the truth will rise." The crowd started whispering again. "What truth? What is in that box? Who is this strange old woman really?" One man in the crowd spoke loudly. "I know her. I remember her now. She is Mrs. Evelyn Carter, the richest woman from 20 years ago." Another old man gasped. Yes, Evelyn Carter. I thought she was dead. She built the big hospital in the city and the orphanage for poor kids. People began to talk fast. More and more remembered her name, her kindness, her great charity. But why did such a woman become poor and dirty? Why was she walking like a beggar? Officer Dan stood frozen. His heart felt heavy. His father was a respected man, a businessman, a man he had loved and trusted all his life. How could this be true? "Tell me!" Dan shouted, walking closer to the old lady. "Why are you saying this? Why do you blame my father? He is dead. He cannot defend himself." The old lady looked at him calmly. She raised the small black box. "This box has records," she said softly. "Recordings, papers, photos, all the truth. Your father and his friends planned to steal everything I had. And they did it. They took my company, my houses, my money, everything." The crowd gasped. A woman covered her mouth. A man shook his head in shock. "But why live like this?" the police chief asked. "Why live as a poor woman for so many years? Why hide? Why suffer?" Evelyn Carter smiled again. "Because I wanted to see people's real faces," she said. "When you are rich, people smile at you. They lie to you. They pretend to like you. But when you are poor, they show their true selves. Some are cruel. Some are kind. I wanted to learn the truth about humans." The crowd became quiet. Everyone listened carefully. Her voice was soft but strong. "And what did you learn?" the chief asked. She turned her eyes slowly toward Officer Dan. "I learned that some children carry the weight of their father's sins, but they do not have to repeat those sins. They can change their way. They can be better," she said. Dan felt sweat on his face. His mind was full of fear and confusion. "I never knew this. I never knew what my father did," he whispered. The street slowly became quiet again. The crowd watched in complete silence as the old lady, Evelyn Carter, stood beside the police chief, holding the strange black box tightly in her hand. Officer Dan stood a little far, his heart still heavy. With shame and confusion, everyone wanted to know what was really inside that box. Whose names were written on those secret papers? Who had destroyed her life so many years ago? But there was something else no one knew yet. A deeper secret. A hidden truth that even the police chief didn't fully understand. Something about the old lady's real identity that would soon shock them all. As the police car arrived, the chief opened the door and helped Evelyn inside. The small black box sat safely on her lap. The crowd slowly began to break apart, but many people followed the car, wanting to see where this strange story would go next. Officer Dan stood still. His mind was full of questions, but one question screamed louder than the rest. Why had the police chief called her Madam with such great respect? Who was she really? As the police car drove away, Dan ran to his own bike and followed. He could not let this story end without knowing the whole truth. At the police station, reporters had already arrived. News spread fast. Cameras clicked. Microphones were everywhere. Who is this woman? Why has she returned now? What secret is in that box? The police chief stood in front of the reporters and raised his hand. "Please wait. All your questions will be answered soon. But first, this lady has something important to share with the world," he said. Inside the chief's office, Evelyn Carter sat quietly. Her bag was open on the table. The black box lay in front of her. Its red light still blinked softly. The quiet beep, beep, beep sound filled the room. The police chief sat down and looked at her with serious eyes. "Evelyn, you said the truth will come out today. Tell me, what is the real truth?" "I feel there is more. Something bigger. Something no one knows," he said gently. Evelyn smiled again. her deep, wise smile. Yes, John, there is more. Much more. And I think it is time you learn it too, she whispered. The chief leaned forward. What do you mean? She slowly opened the black box. Inside, there were papers, old photographs, and a small silver key. She took out the key and held it up. This is the key to locker 327 at Grand Central Bank, she said softly. The chief gasped. Locker 327? But that locker has been locked for 20 years. The bank said the owner vanished without a trace. Evelyn nodded. Yes, because I was the owner. And inside that locker is the rest of the proof. And something else. Something that will shock everyone, she said. Before the chief could speak, the door burst open. Officer Dan stood there, out of breath. Chief, please. I need to know the whole truth. I need to understand what my father did, Dan said, breathing hard. Evelyn looked at him kindly. Come in, young man. You deserve to hear this too, she said. Dan slowly entered. His heart beat fast. What secret was about to be revealed? Evelyn turned to him. Your father, Daniel Sr., was once my business partner, my most trusted friend. We built many things together, buildings, hospitals, charities. But one day, greed touched his heart. Along with 2 other men, he made a plan to steal everything from me, she said softly. Dan's face turned pale. He felt ashamed but listened carefully. But that is not the biggest secret, Evelyn said, her eyes becoming wet. There is something else you must know. The chief leaned closer. What is it, Evelyn? What are you hiding? He asked. Evelyn looked deeply into Dan's eyes. Your father was not only my partner, he was my husband. A deep silence filled the room. The chief gasped. Dan's mouth fell open. He could not believe what he was hearing. My father? Your husband? Dan whispered. Evelyn nodded slowly. Tears filled her eyes. Yes, we were married many years ago. We built a life together. But then, he changed. He became hungry for power, for money. He betrayed me. He stole everything and left me alone. Dan shook his head. His heart was breaking. No, he never told me. I never knew. You are my... Yes, Dan, she said softly. I am your mother. The room went silent again. The chief closed his eyes, shocked. Dan felt the world spin around him. You, my mother. All these years, I thought you were dead, Dan whispered, tears running down his face. Evelyn stood up slowly. She touched his face gently, like a mother who had waited forever to touch. Her son again, I had to hide. Your father told everyone I had died in a car accident. But I was alive, and I watched you from far away. You were only 5 when I left. You never remembered me, but I remembered you. Every day, every hour, she said, her voice full of sadness. And love. Dan fell to his knees, crying. Why didn't you come back for me? Why did you stay away? He asked. Because your father would have hurt you. He was dangerous. He threatened me. I had to leave to protect you, but now the truth is free. And no one can hurt us anymore, she said. The chief wiped his eyes. All these years, and I never knew. I'm sorry, Evelyn. I thought you were gone forever, he said softly. Evelyn smiled gently. It's not too late. My son knows the truth now. And the world will know too, she said. She picked up the silver key again. This key will open locker 327. Inside are the real documents, the stolen papers, proof that your father and his friends cheated me. Tomorrow I will go to the bank and bring out the truth, she said. Dan stood up, wiping his tears. Mother, I will go with you. I will protect you. I will help you make everything right. he said firmly. Evelyn smiled with joy. After so many years, her son was finally by her side. But there was still danger. The men who helped Dan's father long ago were still alive, still powerful. They would not want this truth to come out. The police chief stood up. "I will send guards with you. You are not safe alone. Those men will try to stop you. Be careful," he warned. Evelyn nodded. "I have waited 20 years. I am not afraid anymore," she said. Officer Dan held her hand, his mother's hand. He felt strong now, brave. He would protect her. He would make the past right. But outside the police station, in the shadows, a dark figure watched from a distance, his eyes full of anger, his phone in his hand. He whispered into it, "She's going to the bank tomorrow. We can't let her open that locker. Get ready." The danger was not over yet. What would happen at the bank? Would Evelyn open the locker and reveal the truth? Or would the enemies strike again? The next morning came slowly. The sun rose behind the tall city buildings, but the light felt cold. Something was wrong in the air. A new danger was hiding in the shadows. Evelyn Carter woke, early in her small, quiet room at the police station. She dressed in simple clothes. Her tired eyes looked strong. Today was the day. Today, the truth would come out. Officer Dan stood outside her door, ready. His face was serious. He had not slept all night. His mind was full of thoughts. "I will protect her, no matter what. She is my mother. My real mother," he whispered to himself. The police chief entered the hallway. 2 guards followed him. He looked at Evelyn and smiled kindly. "Are you ready, Evelyn?" he asked softly. She nodded. "Yes. Let's finish this. After 20 long years, I want peace," she said. They walked out of the station. A black police car was waiting for them. The box with the silver key was safe in Evelyn's hands. Officer Dan sat beside her. His heart beat fast. The chief sat in front. The 2 guards followed in another car. But far away in a dark office, the enemy was watching. A tall man with gray hair stood near the window. His face was angry, his eyes cold. "She cannot reach the bank. If she opens that locker, we are finished," he said to his men. One of his men, a short man with a scar on his cheek, nodded. "We have a plan, sir. The road to the bank passes through King Street. Our truck will block the way there. When they stop, we will strike," he said with a cruel smile. The gray-haired man nodded. "Good. No mistakes. She must not reach the bank. Do you understand?" he said sharply. The man with the scar grinned. "Yes, sir. She will never reach the bank alive." Meanwhile, in the police car, Evelyn sat quietly. She looked out of the window. Memories filled her mind. She remembered her son, Dan, as a small boy, his sweet smile, his little hands holding her tightly. She smiled softly. Dan looked at her. "Mother, are you afraid?" he asked gently. She turned to him and touched his hand. "No, my son. I have waited too long for this day. I am not afraid anymore. I only want the truth to come out. After that, I can rest," she said. Dan felt proud. His mother was brave. She was strong, and he would protect her till the end. The car moved fast through the streets. The bank was only 10 minutes away. But on King Street, the trap was ready. A big white truck stood across the road, blocking the way. 3 men stood beside it. They wore black jackets. Their faces were hidden by caps and dark glasses. In their pockets were small guns. One man spoke into a small radio. "They are coming. Be ready." The police car turned the corner and slowed down. The truck blocked the road. The police chief frowned. "What is this? Why is this truck here?" he asked. Dan felt danger. His eyes moved quickly, looking at the men. "Something is wrong," he said sharply. "Stay inside the car, Mother. Don't move." He opened the door and stepped out, holding his gun. The 2 guards in the other car ran forward. "Move this truck! Now!" one guard shouted. but the men in black jackets smiled cruelly. Suddenly, bang! Bang! Shots fired. The guards fell to the ground. "Ambush!" Dan shouted. He pushed his mother down on the car seat. "Stay down!" he cried. The police chief grabbed his radio. The bank vault was quiet. Too quiet. Evelyn Carter stood holding the papers that proved the biggest crime in the city's history. Officer Dan stood beside her, watching every shadow. The police chief looked around nervously. "Let's leave quickly." "It's not safe here. They might try again," the chief whispered. Evelyn nodded. "Yes, they won't stop until they have these papers," she said softly, holding the black notebook close to her chest. They left the vault. The manager locked it behind them. The group moved through the silent hallway toward the bank's exit. But outside, danger was waiting. In a black car across the street, the man with the scar grinned. His phone was in his hand. "Sir, they have the papers. They're coming out now," he said. A cold voice replied, "This is your last chance. Stop them before they reach the station. Do whatever it takes. No mistakes." The man with the scar put down the phone. His eyes were full of cruelty. "This time, they will not escape," he whispered. As the police car pulled away from the bank, Evelyn sat between Officer Dan and the chief. Her hands held the black notebook tightly. "Mother, don't worry. We will reach the police station soon. You will be safe," Dan said kindly, but Evelyn shook her head. "No, son. I feel something bad is coming. The danger is not over," she whispered. Suddenly, boom! An explosion rocked the road ahead. Fire and smoke filled the air. "Trap!" the police chief shouted. He hit the brakes. The car stopped suddenly. From the side streets, 3 black cars appeared. They blocked the road. Men with guns jumped out. Their faces were covered. "It's them!" Dan shouted. He pulled out his gun. The attackers opened fire. Bullets hit the police car. "Bang, bang, bang! Stay down!" Dan shouted to his mother. Evelyn covered her head and ducked low on the seat. The chief spoke into the radio. "Help! We are under attack! King Street, near the bank! Send backup now!" he shouted. But the attackers moved fast. One man threw a smoke bomb. Thick white smoke filled the air. "The police car was trapped. We can't see anything!" The chief coughed. Dan opened the door and stepped out. "Stay here, mother. Don't move," he said bravely. He ran into the smoke. Bullets flew everywhere. "Bang! Bang!" Dan shot back. One attacker fell, but more men were coming. Suddenly, the man with the scar appeared from the smoke. His cruel smile showed his yellow teeth. "Well, well, little Officer Dan. So brave. But not smart enough," he sneered. Dan pointed his gun. "Drop your weapon, now!" he shouted. But the man with the scar laughed. "Too late, boy. We have your mother. And soon, we'll have the papers," he said. Dan's eyes widened. "What? In the car?" Evelyn felt the door open behind her. A strong hand grabbed her arm. "Come here, old woman," the man growled. Evelyn screamed. "Mother!" Dan shouted. He ran back, but another attacker jumped on him. Bang! Dan fired. The man fell, but Evelyn was gone. The man with the scar dragged her toward the black car. "Let her go," Dan shouted. The man grinned. "Come and get her, boy, if you dare," he laughed. Dan ran forward, but the chief pulled him back. "Wait, it's a trap. They want to kill you both," the chief warned. Dan shook with anger. "I don't care. She's my mother," he cried. Evelyn looked back. Her eyes were full of fear, but also courage. "Dan, don't risk your life. Save the papers. Save the truth," she shouted. The man with the scar hit her. "Quiet, old woman," he barked. Dan felt fire in his heart. His blood boiled. "I won't let this happen," he thought. Suddenly, sirens! Police backup arrived. Cars filled the street. Officers with guns ran out. "Drop your weapons! You are surrounded!" an officer shouted. The attackers panicked. "Move! Get in the car!" the man with the scar shouted. He pushed Evelyn into the car, Dan saw his chance. He ran fast, very fast. Bang! He shot at the car's tires. Boom! The tire exploded. The black car could not move. "Get her! Stop them!" the chief shouted. Police ran forward, guns ready. The attackers opened fire. Bang! Bang! A wild gunfight began. Dan jumped behind the black car. He pulled the door open. "Mother!" he cried. Evelyn reached out. "Dan, be careful!" she shouted. The man with the scar turned. His gun pointed at Dan. But bang! A bullet hit the man's shoulder. He screamed and dropped his gun. The police. Chief had fired the shot. "Good shot, Chief," Dan shouted. Dan pulled his mother out of the car. He held her tight. "You're safe, Mother. You're safe," he whispered. But the fight was not over. One last attacker ran toward them with a knife. Dan stepped in front of his mother. The attacker swung the knife. Dan blocked it. Slash! The knife cut Dan's arm. Blood ran down. But Dan fought. Back, he punched the man hard. The attacker fell. "Dan!" Evelyn cried. "I'm fine, Mother." "I'm fine," Dan said bravely. Finally, the police won. The attackers dropped their weapons, hands in the air. The man with the scar lay on the ground, groaning in pain. "It's over," the chief said. The street was full of police. Backup had come. The danger was gone. Dan hugged his mother. "You are safe now, Mother. They can't hurt you anymore," he whispered. Evelyn smiled, tears in her eyes. "You saved me, son. You saved everything. The truth is safe. The papers are safe. The fight is over," she said. But the police chief shook his head. "No, Evelyn. The fight is not over. The real battle begins now. We have the proof. But those powerful men, they will fight back. They won't give up so easily," he warned. Evelyn stood tall. "Let them try. I am not afraid anymore. The world will know the truth. The people will hear my story," she said strongly. Dan smiled proudly. "My mother is the bravest woman in the world," he thought. But far away, in a tall office building, the gray-haired man watched the news on TV. His face was dark, his eyes full of hate. "She survived. Again," he hissed. His phone rang. "What should we do now, sir?" the voice asked. The gray-haired man smiled coldly. "Prepare the final move. I will end this myself. Tomorrow, she will die." The danger was not over. A bigger attack was coming. Would Evelyn and Dan survive the final enemy? Would the truth reach the world? The last battle was near. The city was quiet that night. But inside Evelyn Carter's heart, a storm was growing. She sat in the safe room at the police station, holding the black notebook in her lap. The notebook had all the secrets, proof of the crimes, the lies, and the truth that the world needed to know. Her son, Officer Dan, sat beside her. His injured arm was wrapped in a bandage, but his eyes were full of fire. "Mother, it's not over yet. They will come again. I feel it," he said softly. Evelyn nodded. "I know, son. The man with gray hair, he will not stop. He wants to silence me forever," she whispered. Suddenly, the police chief walked into the room. His face looked worried. "We have a problem," he said. "The gray-haired man, Mr. Gray, has escaped. We lost him. He was last seen near the old city harbor. We fear he is planning something big." Dan stood up, angry. "We should have arrested him earlier," he shouted. The chief sighed. "We didn't have proof then. Now we do. But he knows, and he will try something desperate." "Evelyn, you are in great danger," the chief said. Evelyn smiled sadly. "I have lived with danger for 20 years. I can face one more day," she replied. But deep inside, her heart felt heavy. She knew the enemy's last move was near, and it could be deadly. At the old city harbor, Mr. Gray stood alone in the cold wind. His eyes were full of hate. His phone rang. "Is everything ready?" he asked. Yes, sir. A team of men will hit the police station at midnight. She won't live to see the morning, the voice replied. Mr. Gray smiled coldly. Good. Make sure the notebook is destroyed. I want no evidence left. This ends tonight. He hung up and looked at the dark sea. Goodbye, Evelyn Carter. You should have stayed silent, he whispered. Back at the station, Dan felt restless. His mind was full of fear. Chief, we must move my mother. This place is not safe. They will attack here, he said. The chief nodded. I agree. We are preparing a secret car. We will take her to a safe house outside the city, the chief said. Dan turned to his mother. Mother, pack your things. We are leaving in 10 minutes, he said. Evelyn smiled. Running again, son? I have been running all my life. No more. I will face them here, she said bravely. Dan knelt beside her. Please, Mother, I don't want to lose you. Not now. We must be smart, he begged. Evelyn touched his face. All right, my son, for you. I will leave this place, she said softly. Suddenly, crash! The station lights went out. Darkness filled the rooms. What's happening? Dan shouted. Power cut, the chief cried. Gunshots rang out. Bang! 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 They're here! An officer yelled. Dan grabbed his gun. He stood in front of his mother. Stay down, Mother! He shouted. The attackers came fast. Black masks, guns ready, moving like shadows in the dark. Find the woman! Kill her! One of them shouted. Dan fired. Bang! Bang! 2 men fell, but more came. Back up! We need backup! The chief shouted into his radio. Evelyn crawled behind a table, holding the notebook close. I won't let them take this. Never, she whispered. One attacker jumped near her. I've got her, he shouted. Dan turned fast. Bang! The man fell. Dan ran to his mother. Come, we must leave now, he said. The chief joined them. We have a way out. The back stairs. Hurry, he said. They ran through the dark hallway. Bullets hit the walls behind them. Bang! Bang! The chief led the way. Quick! The door is here! He cried. But suddenly, Mr. Gray appeared at the end of the hall. He held a gun. Going somewhere, Evelyn, he said coldly. Dan pointed his gun. Drop your weapon, Gray, he shouted. But Gray smiled. No, boy. You drop yours. Or your mother dies now, he sneered. He aimed at Evelyn's head. Dan froze. His heart pounded. Let her go, Gray. You can't win. The police are coming. You'll be caught. 1 month passed. Evelyn Carter's life was quiet now. She no longer hid in the shadows. She no longer feared the dark. The truth was out. The evil men were in jail. The city was safe again. But something inside Evelyn's heart felt strange. Why? Do I feel like this is not over yet? She thought as she sat on her porch, looking at the sky. Her son, Officer Dan, walked outside holding 2 cups of tea. Here, Mother, your favorite, he said, smiling. Thank you, son, Evelyn replied, taking the cup. Dan sat beside her. You are safe now, Mother. Everything is finished. You can rest, he said softly. Evelyn smiled, but only a little. I hope so, Dan, but I have a strange feeling, like something is not right, like someone is still watching, she whispered. Dan laughed a little. Mother, you have been through too much. Your mind is tired. There is no more danger, he said kindly. But far away. Danger was growing. In a secret room in another city, a phone rang. Man in a dark suit answered. Yes, a soft voice spoke. Mr. Gray failed, but the mission is not over. We must continue. The woman knows too much. She must be silenced forever. The man smiled. Understood, sir. I will handle it personally. He hung up the phone and turned to the window. His face was cold, his eyes like steel. Evelyn Carter. Your time is not over. Not yet, he whispered. Back at Evelyn's house, strange things started to happen. A black car passed slowly every night. A shadow stood near the trees in the dark. A letter came in the mailbox. No stamp, no name. Evelyn opened it. Inside was a small note. "We are watching." Her hands shook. "Dan, come quickly," she shouted. Dan ran outside. "What's wrong, Mother?" he asked. She gave him the note. Dan read it. His face turned. "Serious? This is not good. Someone is warning you, or threatening you," he said. The chief of police arrived quickly. "We will find out who sent this, don't worry. You are safe," the chief said. But Evelyn felt fear deep inside her chest. "It's happening again," she thought. That night, Evelyn could not sleep. Every noise made her heart jump. Suddenly, crash! A window broke downstairs. Dan grabbed his gun. "Stay here, Mother," he said. He ran down the stairs. In the living room, a man in black stood near the broken window. "Stop right there," Dan shouted. The man turned and ran. Dan chased him outside. "Police! Freeze!" Dan shouted, but the man was fast. He jumped into a car and drove away into the dark. Dan stood in the street, breathing hard. "He came for you, Mother." "I'm sure of it," he said. The next morning, the police checked everything. Whoever he was, he left no fingerprints, no sign. "A professional," the chief said. Evelyn sat in her chair, tired and worried. "It's starting again. They want to finish what Gray couldn't do," she whispered. Dan knelt beside her. "Don't worry, Mother, I will protect you, I promise," he said. But deep in his heart, Dan was afraid. This enemy is smarter and more dangerous, he thought. Later that day, Evelyn and Dan went to the police station for safety. They stayed in a special room with guards outside, but even there, danger found them. A box arrived at the front desk. No name, no address. Young officer opened it carefully. Inside was a small black phone. It rang. The chief answered. A strange voice spoke. "Hello, Evelyn. Did you miss me?" The chief put the phone on speaker. Evelyn heard the voice. It was not Mr. Gray. "Who are you?" Evelyn asked bravely. The voice laughed. "A friend of Mr. Gray, a bigger friend. You destroyed his game. Now you are in mine. Run, hide." "It won't matter. I will find you. I always do," the voice said coldly. Dan grabbed the phone. "Who are you? Show yourself," he shouted. But the line went dead. The phone turned off by itself. Evelyn closed her eyes. "This is a new enemy. A powerful one," she whispered. The chief nodded. "We must move you far away. Maybe another country. This man is serious," he said. Evelyn shook her head. "No, I will not run again. This time, I will fight." "I am tired of fear," she said strongly. Dan smiled with pride. "That's my mother," he thought. That night, they made a plan. "We will catch this new man. Set a trap. Make him come to us," the chief said. Dan agreed. "Yes, we will say on TV that my mother is leaving the country tomorrow. He will try to stop her. And then, we will catch him," he said. Evelyn smiled. "Let's finish this. Once and for all," she said. The next day, the news said, "Evelyn Carter to leave the country tonight for safety." The trap was set. Hidden cameras watched every street. Police waited on every corner. Midnight came. A black car stopped near the station. A tall man in a dark coat stepped out. He walked toward the door. "Get ready," the chief whispered. Dan held his gun tight. The man opened the door. "Now," Dan shouted. Police surrounded him. The man smiled. "Well done, Officer Dan, but I am not alone," he said softly. Suddenly, bang! An explosion shook the street. Smoke filled the air. From the darkness, more men ran in. A wild fight began. Bang! 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 Dan grabbed his mother. "Stay down!" he shouted. The police fired. Bang! Bang! One by one, the attackers fell. The tall man tried to run, but the chief caught him. "It's over!" the chief shouted. The man laughed. Not over. Just the beginning, he whispered. Then he fainted. Morning came. The city was quiet again. Evelyn sat in the station, tired but safe. Dan sat beside her. "Is it over now, Mother?" he asked. She smiled sadly. "For now, my son. For now. But evil never sleeps. Somewhere. Someone is always watching," she said. Dan nodded. "But we are ready." "Always ready," he said. The chief came in. "Good news. The new enemy is caught. His gang is gone. You are safe, Evelyn. Truly safe this time," he said with a smile. Evelyn stood up. "Thank you, Chief. And thank you, Dan. I can live in peace now," she said softly. 1 year later, Evelyn sat in her garden, smelling the flowers. The sun was warm. The sky was blue. Dan visited her every week. "You are smiling, Mother. No fear today?" he asked. She laughed. "No fear, son. Only peace." "At last," she said. The world knew her story. She was a hero, but far away, in a dark room. A new man watched her photo. "One day, old woman, I will come," he whispered. "But for now." Evelyn was safe, and her heart was full of peace. It was a quiet morning. Evelyn Carter watered her small garden, smiling. For 1 year, her life had been peaceful. No more fear, no more running. The evil men were gone. Her son, Dan, visited every weekend. The town people greeted her with respect. "You are the bravest woman in the city, Mrs. Carter," they often said. But Evelyn's heart was not fully at peace. "Why do I still feel that something is missing?" she wondered. Her thoughts were broken by a sound. Ding-dong, the doorbell. She wiped her hands and opened the door. A young boy stood there, maybe 8 years old, thin, dirty face, scared eyes. "Can I help you, child?" Evelyn asked softly. The boy looked around, afraid. "Are you Mrs. Carter?" he whispered. "Yes, I am. Who are you?" she asked. The boy gave her a small package. "My father said." "Give this to you," before he disappeared, the boy said. "Your father? Who is your father?" Evelyn asked quickly. But the boy ran away fast into the street and vanished. "Wait, come back!" Evelyn called, but he was gone. She looked at the package. It was wrapped in old brown paper. On top, one word, truth. Her hands shook. "What is this?" she whispered. Inside her house, she carefully opened the package. There was a small notebook, old, dirty, smelling of smoke. Inside the first page, strange words were written. "The real story is not finished. The biggest secret is still hidden. Find room 17, Old Factory, City Harbor." Her heart jumped. "Room 17? The place where Mr. Gray used to meet his men, but I thought it was closed. Empty," she said to herself. She picked up the phone and called Dan. "Dan, something strange happened. You must come quickly," she said. Soon Dan arrived. He read the note. "Room 17? I thought that place was sealed long ago after Gray was arrested," he said. Evelyn shook her head. "Someone wants me to go there. Someone left this for me. Maybe to show me something," she said. Dan frowned. "Or maybe it's a trap, Mother." "You are not going alone," he said firmly. "I have to know, son. The truth may not be finished." "Please," she said. Dan sighed. "All right, but I'm going with you, fully armed, and I'll call for backup. We're going tonight," he said. That night, the old factory stood in darkness. Cold wind blew. Dan, Evelyn, and 2 officers entered the broken gate. "It's quiet. Too quiet," Dan whispered. They reached the old door marked Room 17. Dan pushed. The door opened with his gun ready. Inside, dust, broken furniture, and a table. On the table, a file. Evelyn stepped forward and picked up the file. She opened it. Photos, Documents, names. Her eyes widened in shock. Dan, these are government names. High-level officers, judges, police, all working for Mr. Gray's secret group. And some are still free, still powerful, she whispered. Dan's face turned dark. My God, this is bigger than we ever knew. Gray was only a small part of this evil. The real leaders are still out there, still watching, he said. Suddenly, click. A light turned on, from the shadows. An old man stepped out. He wore a suit. His face was thin, pale, full of scars. Hello, Evelyn Carter. Welcome to the real story, he said softly. Dan pointed his gun. Who are you? He shouted. The man smiled. I am the man behind Mr. Gray. I am the one who controls everything. I let you live because you were useful. But now, you know too much, he said. Dan stepped forward. You are under arrest, he shouted. The man laughed. No, Officer Dan. I am above the law. Your police cannot touch me. If you try, your mother dies. Your friends die. Your city burns, he said coldly. Evelyn stood bravely. Then why are you here? To kill us? She asked. The man shook his head. No, I came to offer you peace. Stay silent. Forget.